all my years in service through wars and countless exercises, I have never witnessed anything like what happened that day. You could see it in the other soldiers, the weight of their gear, the mud caked on their boots, the tension in their eyes. Fear was palpable, but he moved differently, silent, deliberate, like a shadow gliding across the battlefield. You never saw him. You only felt him, like a subtle change in the air. We called him the Ghost. This was the observation of a decorated South Korean 3-star general, and the story behind those words is as extraordinary as it is true. It is the tale of a soldier who became a legend during one chaotic multinational exercise, in an environment designed to test the limits of modern warfare, where drones buzz, satellites watch, and every movement is tracked. This man proved that the most lethal weapon remains the human spirit, trained to its finest edge. To understand why a Filipino soldier, overlooked by many, earned the name Byungsa, the ghost soldier, we must return to the moment when the fog of war became terrifyingly real. The stage was the rugged mountains of South Korea, during Exercise Iron Solidarity, a massive military event meant to unite allied forces. The Republic of Korea Army brought precision and discipline, backed by cutting-edge technology. The United States Marine Corps arrived with overwhelming power, and Australian soldiers contributed their unmatched grit. Among these forces was the Philippine contingent, a small but elite detachment from the Philippine Marine Corps Reconnaissance Battalion. In sprawling command posts filled with glowing monitors, they were barely noticed, their numbers small, their gear modest. To some, they were just padding, but those who had served in Southeast Asia knew better. The Philippine Marines were survivors of brutal jungles, trained in decades of counterinsurgency, honed to turn every environment into a weapon, able to traverse terrain others deemed impossible. Yet here in Korea, far from home, would their skills even translate? They were about to prove they could. The exercise itself was simple in design. 2 opposing forces, Blue Force representing the Allies and Red Force representing the opposition. Blue Force's goal was to capture a Red Force mobile command vehicle, a fortress bristling with electronics, defenses, and strategic value. The Red Force, made up of elite South Korean and American soldiers, was confident, entrenched, and prepared. Day 1 proceeded predictably, formations moving, drones scanning, radios humming. From his command post filled with glowing screens, Lieutenant General Park Sun-W of the Republic of Korea Army observed everything. The battlefield appeared orderly, controlled, predictable. But war, as anyone who has faced it knows, is never predictable. Day 2 arrived, and with it chaos. A low mist formed in the valleys, but it was no ordinary fog. The sun's warmth failed to burn it away. Instead, the gray tide rose, thickening and swallowing the landscape. Within an hour, visibility fell below 10 feet. The fog was unnervingly dense, clinging to everything, chilling the skin with a damp, penetrating cold. Communications faltered. Radios hissed with static. GPS devices faltered, showing units miles from their true locations. Thermal imaging, which had provided the Allies with an edge, became useless. Screens displayed nothing but uniform gray static. Red Force's electronic warfare suites, combined with the freak weather, created the perfect storm of confusion and disorientation. Units were isolated, blind, and exposed. Fear, impossible to simulate in training, crept into the minds of men. The entire operation teetered on the edge of collapse. And in this moment of disarray, the Ghost emerged. The first report came from a U.S. Marine patrol led by Sergeant Miller, a seasoned combat veteran. When the fog hit, the team lost communications and their digital maps failed. They were disoriented, unsure of their surroundings. "Hold up," Miller whispered. "Something's not right." The only sound was their own breathing. They took a defensive position, and then they heard it. A snap to their left, a rustle to their right. They were being surrounded. Shadows flickered in the fog. Miller raised his rifle, aiming at what seemed to be nothing. Then came soft, dull thuds like heavy sandbags falling. One shadow vanished, then another. The Marines stared into the mist, tense, frozen. A grunt, a brief struggle, and then silence. The encirclement had vanished, leaving them bewildered. Cautiously, Miller led his men forward. There they found 3 enemy soldiers laid out neatly, their weapons beside them. Red hit tags marking their simulated defeat. There had been no confrontation, no struggle, just a mysterious, inexplicable presence. In the mud nearby, an X inside a circle had been carved, the unmistakable sign of Philippine recon. They had been saved, unseen, untouched by someone who moved like a spirit. Back at the command center, General Park watched his screens with fury and disbelief. Reports came in, sentries disappearing without trace, patrols neutralized quietly, equipment dismantled methodically. One soldier, and only one, operated alone in the densest forested sectors, moving through chaos with purpose and precision. Park leaned in closer, his anger shifted to fascination. Amidst total system failure, this lone Filipino soldier was not just surviving, he was dominating. On the opposing side, Red Force patrols felt the psychological terror of an invisible hunter. One by one, soldiers went missing or were found neutralized, their communications carefully disabled, equipment disassembled. Panic spread, radio reports crackled with disbelief. We are being dismantled. There is no sound, no visuals. We're being hunted by a ghost. Yet the ghost was not only lethal. In a moment of compassion, a young South Korean private separated from his unit was aided by this silent soldier. Private Kim had fallen, simulating injury, and waited, cold and exposed, for capture. Footsteps approached, then stopped. A hand touched him lightly. Kim looked up to see a Filipino Marine, quiet, precise. With deft hands, he released the leg brace and offered Kim a drink. Then he pointed the way forward, watching him safely out of the sector before disappearing into the fog. The chaos continued for 36 hours. The ultimate prize, the heavily defended mobile command vehicle Cerberus, was nearly impenetrable. With sheer walls and a fortified choke point, conventional assault seemed impossible. The commanders debated desperate measures, but Park's eyes remained fixed on one icon, the lone Filipino soldier's tag. It approached Cerberus, paused, assessed the terrain, and instead of retreating, it moved along cliffs, scaling walls thought impossible, passing sentries and sensors undetected. Every operator tag flickered out as the soldier passed, leaving no trace. The command center fell silent. This was no textbook maneuver. This was artistry. At last, the soldier reached the top of the quarry wall above Cerberus and vanished from the sensors. Moments later, reports came in. Cerberus was secured. All systems neutralized, no shots fired. The ghost had completed the mission alone, striking the heart of the enemy without leaving a mark. In the command center, relief exploded into cheers. Yet General Park remained in awe, fists clenched in stunned respect. He contacted the Philippine contingent, and the answer confirmed it. One lone recon operator, trained to be unseen, had done the impossible. Park leaned back, whispering to the room, "That is not a soldier. That is a ghost." The story spread quickly. Marines and allied soldiers whispered his name in reverent tones. Koreans called him Yuryong Byungsa. Americans simply the ghost soldier. At debriefing, arrogance gave way to respect. When asked how the mission had succeeded, the Philippine captain said simply, "We did not have the numbers or technology to win a conventional fight. So we fought differently. We used the environment. We used chaos. My soldier did what he was trained to do, be unseen, be unheard, and complete the mission." The soldier himself sat quietly among his team, unassuming, unnoticed. When General Park looked at him, the soldier gave a subtle, respectful nod. He sought no recognition, no glory, and that was perhaps his greatest skill. The legend of the ghost soldier endured, a testament to a different kind of strength, one not measured in weapons or numbers, but in discipline, ingenuity, and the power of the human element. Even in an age dominated by satellites and electronic warfare, the most dangerous force on the battlefield remains a single soldier who has mastered invisibility, a whisper in the chaos, a ghost with a purpose. His name may be fictional, but the legacy is real. It lives in every soldier trained to operate in shadows, to wait for the moment the fog of war descends. Stories like his remind the world that courage, skill, and ingenuity can change outcomes in ways technology cannot. That even overlooked units operating quietly and effectively can rewrite history, and sometimes the world needs a ghost.